Professor Nicieja, good to see you again. Welcome back to TVP World.
Thank you very much for your invitation. It's good to be back after a long break.
Pleasure, yes, indeed. Pleasure to have you. So, give us a bird's eye view. Why is the president coming to Europe, and why now, before we get into any details?
Now it's the time for Xi, and generally we have heard voices about charm offensive of the Chinese government and Chinese authorities to win back some of the sympathy and support lost in the last couple of years, provoked by mishandling of the pandemic and the years of the so-called wolf warrior diplomacy that didn't go very well for China. So in the time of the growing tensions between the United States and China, Chinese leadership is seeking to at least find some more sympathetic audience and also make sure that European markets remain closed or remain open even in the face of greater tension between the United States and China.
Right, so although there have, as you say, been tensions and differences of opinion, the Chinese feel it important to keep some economic ties running. Now, the president is landing in France. That's his first stop. How would you characterize the relationship between France and China?
The relations, historically, we may see that there is a huge mutual fascination and also mutual respect. On the French side, it goes back well into the times of the Enlightenment, when Chinese philosophers were looking for inspiration and they were following, and it has continued throughout to the modern times. And at the same time, also, there is some deep respect and fascination among Chinese elites with France. And we have to remember, for example, two of the greatest figures in contemporary Chinese politics, Zhou Enlai, former president, and Deng Xiaoping, and the youth in France, and they were shaped by the French experience. So this is symbolically very, very important relationship. A country in Europe that China admires, that likes to follow, and there is this kind of fascination also on the French side. But these are the outside elements. Then there is economy. France and China have been good partners in business. However, for France, there is the outstanding trade deficit, and certainly in those talks, when we look at President Macron, probably one of his priorities would be at least narrow it down to ease the restrictions that European companies, French companies encounter daily in dealing with the Chinese market. That may be the hope on the part. I don't expect any concrete, maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't expect any concrete offers. Xi Jinping would come to France, to Paris, with rather words than deeds. But the words are very important for those two politicians, for Macron and Xi.
Indeed.
Xi needs some kind of boost in his international image. And Macron certainly also wants to project himself as a
Indeed.
leader.
So certainly, I mean, on the surface of it and symbolically, as you say, there is great value in this trip. Do you believe that France can use that relationship and its influence, if you like, over China to stem the flow of weapons and weapons spare parts to Russia?
That would be certainly an important priority on the part of President Macron. If it's successful, we may be doubtful, but we'll see. Certainly, his voice will be listened to. We have to remember that there is no opposition in China to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping rarely hears voices at home that oppose his vision. So it would be great for him to listen to someone with a different opinion on war in Ukraine. From someone whom Xi respects and will listen very, very carefully. Whether he takes that advice, that remains to be seen. But
Right.
there may be a very crucial point here
Yes,
in
well,
this meeting.
let's hope it is at least discussed. Now, I'd like to move on, Professor, to his next stop, which is Serbia, where he's arriving on the 7th of May. Now, coincidentally or not, that is exactly 25 years after the accidental NATO bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade on the 7th of May, as I say, in 1999. Is there some symbolism in the date of this visit as well?
It's a tremendous symbolism because we have to remember that the bombing on the embassy in Belgrade, accidental or not, the Chinese claim it was not an accident. It is the founding moment for the new Chinese nationalism. So there's the new wave of Chinese nationalism, this nationalistic sentiment in China really begins with the demonstrations that followed that tragic event. So for Chinese modern history, that is a very, very significant event. And it's, as you can see, Xi builds that trip on symbolic gestures, on symbolic dates. 60 years, because the pretext for the visit to Paris is the 60th anniversary of establishing relations. Here we've got, maybe less formally expressed, by this 25th anniversary of this tragic bombing, and a very important moment in internal Chinese history.
Right. So do you believe that to be the main reason for his visit to Serbia, or is there something else?
No, it's just a pretext. The most important part is to ensure that his best friends in Europe, Serbia and Hungary, remain friends. That this friendship is reaffirmed, and here probably we can expect some offers, probably investment, probably some new factories. When we look at the Hungarian leg of the trip, it's widely expected that Xi will announce new initiatives to build electric vehicle spare parts plants in Hungary. Probably the same can be heard about investment in some parts of Serbian economy. So here we may expect more concrete gestures than in France.
Understood. So do you believe that there is a risk of Chinese economic encroachment into Europe, which then also undermines European industry, which is obviously one of the great concerns of many European governments?
Yes, the risk is there. The risk is very realistic. But on the other hand, we see, and France is also a leader on that, of introducing probes and calling for some restrictions to the unfettered flow of subsidized Chinese products into the European market. So there is a risk, but European elites are very well aware of that risk. And if they forget, the American side would be very quick to remind them about the dangers posed to European economy and to the stability of geopolitical situation in Europe and around the world.
Understood. Now, you mentioned Hungary. I mean, clearly, Viktor Orban is someone that is very often out of step with general EU philosophy and plans. What do you make of that specific visit?
I would see it as a reaffirmation of this long-standing and fruitful for both sides friendship, but also the choice of Hungary simply wanted to be received very, very well. He wanted good images. He wanted warm and friendly reception, and certainly he can expect that in all those three capitals, and particularly in Hungary, which as a country is more important than Serbia because it is member of the European Union, it is member of NATO. So for political ties, this relationship is much, much more important for Xi, and maintaining that friendship, supporting this friendship with concrete gestures like new investments, new infrastructure plans, and new ideas for cooperation. Probably those two countries, Serbia and Hungary, are the last hopes for keeping alive Xi's key initiative of the Belt and Road after Italy famously withdrawn from that initiative not so long ago, and this key partner of China dropped out. If he hopes to maintain that Belt and Road Initiative program, he needs to build on some trusted and long-time friends.
Right.
Serbia and
Right.
Hungary may provide that.
Understood. Now, in the last few seconds that we have left, Professor, very, very quickly, do you think that he's looking also to get some kind of green light from Europe for his invasion of Taiwan?
I don't think he will get any green light
Is he
from
hoping
that.
for this?
And well, no, I don't see. I think Taiwan is much more important in China-U.S. relations. Taiwan is less important issue concerning European and Chinese relations. So probably there will be some declarations, but I don't expect this to be the most important issue to be discussed. Much more
Understood.
important would be economic relations.
Understood. Professor Nicieja, thank you very much for laying all that out for us, and have a good evening. We'll hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of
Thank
our
you.
listeners.
Thank you.